Hey there, brother. This is Steve Horseman with Good Guys to Great Men. Thank you again for tuning in. Women run away from men. They move away from men. They're disgusted by men. They hate men for the same reason that horses do. And it's a very simple lesson. And the word is pressure. And what pressure is and how we as men need to start detaching from the femometer, from the meter of feminine approval. We do this with horses too. A lot of people will try to get close to a horse and the horse will move away. In fact, if I do pressure, like whip out a plastic bag, and this horse will move away from me. The horse hates me. Oh, the stupid horse doesn't like me. The stupid horse won't let me touch it. And this is how we get with ladies, isn't it? Whether you've got a girlfriend, whether you're trying to get a girlfriend, whether you've been on dates, you have to understand what pressure feels like to women, whether you're dating them or married to them. And so in this free webinar, we go deep into what pressure looks like and how to detach from the need to get them to like you. Even in horsemanship, guys get really angry when a horse won't do what he expects it to do, what he asks it to do. And he doesn't even realize that he's putting pressure of all types onto her, and he has no clue why. We want to teach you the 3 basic reasons women move away from you and how to start rebuilding trust and getting calmer in yourself and becoming a more gentle person with women, a person that women and horses can trust. Let's see if I can get this guy to trust me again, because now he thinks I'm an idiot because I was shaking a bag at him. If I can get him to put his head right here on my shoulder, I'll know that I'm not putting pressure on him. And that's what we want to teach you in this free webinar, is how to be the kind of man who creates the comfortable, easy, safe feelings for women to move towards you instead of away from you.
This video is for you if you have found yourself suddenly in a situation where your wife has said to you, that's it, I'm done, I want out, I want space. And this is to really help you know what to say, what to do, and what to think when this happens, even though it feels like your hair's on fire. We really want to help pull you out of that free fall that you feel that you are probably in and find some solid ground. We want to help untie that horrible knot of despair in your stomach. And we want to give you very specific steps that you can take right now to help.
Right. What we're going to be covering in this webinar are the very specific tools that we teach in our coaching programs with men. We're going to be giving you 3 specific things we'll be introducing in just a little bit. Most men in this situation, including ourselves, and we know how you feel right now, we were not taught a way to become the kind of man we want to be, the confident man, the calm man, a guy who is a great husband and a great lover. Our fathers didn't show us this, our uncles and our grandfathers didn't show us this, and this is why we're here. When you hear things like, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, or I need space, it's human nature to freak out. It's human nature to go into panic mode and just try to do just about anything to get that feeling out of your stomach. And so we're going to talk a lot about that feeling and how it can show up in unhealthy ways. So let's move on.
Here's the truth. There are things you don't know. And so we can guarantee there's shit you're doing right now that is making things worse. We also know there's shit you could be doing and you're not that would make things much better. So we have these key counterintuitive ideas, steps, and practices that we want to help you stop pushing her away and start attracting her again.
So right now you basically have 3 choices in front of you. You can decide to stay put and do nothing whatsoever. About 80% of the men will go with option 1, and that's do nothing. And that is stay frozen, stay in an unhappy, dysfunctional, this mode of argument and resentment and anger that goes on from day to day. The fear of divorce and confusion around what to do causes men to bury their heads in the sand and deny that anything really serious is happening, or they wait on pins and needles for their wife to make a move so they can react to it. That's one way. Option 1 is stay put and do nothing. Step 2 is proactively end your marriage now. Some guys do this. They're just so fed up, they don't know what else to say or do or think, and so they initiate a divorce and they say, I'm done, I want out. About another 15% of the men will do this option, and they'll make a preemptive strike to protect themselves, and they'll either have an affair or they'll file for divorce themselves. What we're here to talk to you about is an option 3. Option 3 is create something new by creating a change in yourself. The rest of the men who actually make an improvement in themselves in their marriage realize that the only thing they can change is their own behavior and their own mindset. You're going to hear that word a lot, mindset. And when you do that, you can make a decision to become a better man no matter what happens. And this is what we call the 5% club. While the rest of the men may either just go ahead and get divorced or just put up with life as it is, this percentage of men, which you're included in now that you're in this webinar, are going to decide to create something new inside yourself so you can create something new in your relationship.
Now, today we're going to be going through 3 important insights that will help you immediately. Number 1 is the key to being happy with yourself even when she isn't. Number 2, a systematic plan to uplevel your sense of value, self-respect, and overall attractiveness. And number 3, how to consistently stay in a confident, calm, masculine mindset.
Yeah, so stay tuned for those 3 things. But first, we want to tell you a little bit about us, because who the heck are we to tell you anything? And sometimes sharing a story is important for you to connect a little bit better with us and why we're so passionate about this. Like you, possibly, I never saw myself as a needy, clingy, or overly attached person. I kind of was good at work. I knew what I did. I had a lot of respect and friends in my social circles. But I learned that women feel those things differently from a man in a romantic relationship. As a boy, I found out that women could leave men. My mom left us with my dad, 3 boys with my dad. And I thought I was a badass because I was latchkey kid, independent, had a lot of friends. I was good in sports and later became good in business. But my dirty little secret was that I quietly suffered from not getting attention from women. I suffered from being very uncomfortable with women. I needed their approval. I wanted their desire. I wanted their fidelity and loyalty to me. And that created pressure starting day 1 in my very own marriage. And then I wanted to be stronger. And so I would take care of my body and my social life. I would make people like me. And again, I thought I had it all figured out. If I could make the world like me and be a really nice guy, then she would like me. And then one time she said, well, they don't get to see what goes on behind closed doors. And that was the most hurtful thing. When she said that, my success in the world didn't translate to success in the department of romance and sex and marriage. And that's because my mindset in marriage was all about trying to do things to make her like me, trying to analyze her problems and talking my way out of problems and fixing things so I could get what I wanted from her. I was very manipulative and I didn't even know it. I did not have a clue about how to be the kind of man that gets what he wants. I was also pretty afraid and perplexed about women in general. I needed a whole new way of thinking, and I never thought about my thoughts back then. I needed a whole new way of thinking and a mindset that was overhauled. And I learned that this was what personal development was all about. When people say, work on yourself, dude, personal development, it's about changing the way you think. And I learned that fixing me was all the control I ever had, and it turns out it was all I ever really needed. So the masculine mindset I decided I was going to develop for the first time in my life. I really understood what it meant to be a man, not act like a man or pretend to be a man, but actually be a man. And it wasn't something that someone could give me. It was a place I had to come from. It wasn't a place to get to. I had to start embodying those traits. And the key point for me was I needed to know my values. I needed to know who I was, what I believed in, what were my non-negotiable principles, and I had to find out where true confidence came from. I had fake confidence before. I was good at sports. I was good with friends. I was good in business. But when it came to marriage, sex, and romance, I didn't have any confidence whatsoever. I learned why vulnerability was so scary to me in speaking my truth, and why empathy for my wife was fucking impossible, because I could never see what she was feeling or understand her. And I learned where true peace of mind came from and how other men were needed to save my life.
Well, my story is a little bit different. That is, when I lost my business back in 2009 in the crash, I fell into the rabbit hole. I was depressed. I was angry. I had massive self-pity. And worst of all, I was acting like a little boy. I was needy and I was nervous, and it seemed like everything in my well-being was tied to what my wife thought of me. And I didn't know what to do. I tried to get out of that hole, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't seem to do it on my own. Well, one day, my wife had just had it. And she confronted me and said, "That's it. I want a divorce." Now, after that, I'm sorry to say that things did not get better. They got a lot worse. I mean, that was when I pulled out all the stops. I went into a complete needy, begging, pleading, whining, crying, asking questions all the time. Why? What can I do? How can I fix this? Is there anything we can do? Now, she had a lot of answers. But the one that I remember most is when she finally turned to me one day, angry with burning eyes, and said, "Tim, I'm not attracted to you anymore because you've been acting like a little boy, and I don't want to fuck a little boy."
Oh, man.
Ouch.
Ouch.
A bit. So I decided that this was a wake-up call. I decided that whatever happened moving forward, I was going to come out of this a better man. I had to. And so I started learning about, what to do and how to be and be more confident and be more calm. And finally, I got male friends that helped me, like Steve. And I was able to start to be the man I wanted to be and to actually get a life and not just walk around wondering what she was going to do and what she was feeling and what she was thinking about. Since then, I can honestly say that I like myself, I'm pleased with myself, and I am happier now than I've been in forever. I have a great relationship with my 2 daughters, and my ex-wife and I, we are great co-parents. So, perhaps most importantly, I can honestly say that I am confident in the man I am and the man I am practicing becoming. And that is really amazing.
Okay, let's get started. The very first tool we want to talk about today is the key to being happy with yourself, even when she isn't. We've come up with a tool called the femometer, and this is a gauge, and this is a way to think about the way that men, when we're insecure, when we feel needy and desperate, we tend to attach like an umbilical cord to feminine energy. The femometer is a gauge which has her face in the middle of it, and you can picture a cord or a cable that goes down below to another gauge that has you in it. And the 2 arrows on these gauges tend to coincide. If she's happy, you're happy. Happy wife, happy life. Remember that one.
Yep.
And if she's unhappy, you're unhappy. You feel like you adopt all of her moods and all of her energy.
Yes, and it was just like in my story. I was walking around and just wondering, does she like me? Are we okay? Am I okay? Make me okay. Validate me. And I was just, it was really like an umbilical cord. Yeah. And so what do? Well, I had to cut that cord. Yeah. I had to just, with a bolt cutter, one of those big things, and detach from worrying about what she thought about me. I stopped asking those kind of questions and making demands and saying, explain yourself and what's going on. And like we said earlier, waiting for her to make a move so I could just react to it.
Yeah. So one thing we want you to know about the femometer is that some men believe their wives like them there, doing what she says to do, following her around, anticipating her every need and mood. And they don't. The secret here is that women cannot stand the pressure of a man who is not firmly in his own lane. When he's looking to her for approval and permission and direction, they can't stand the responsibility, and that's how we become unattractive little boys, as you talked about.
Exactly. If your wife is out on the ledge, don't get out on the ledge with her. Okay, that's not what she wants. That's the last thing she wants. Now, you could lean out the window and say, "Hey, babe, how are you? I got a cocktail for you when you're ready to come on in," which is fine. But you don't want to jump into that swirling vortex of her emotions. Yeah. What she feels if you do that is, another person I have to take care of. I can't even take care of myself. Yeah. So you want to remove yourself from all of that and be there. You're there as a sort of a container for it, let's say. A strong masculine presence that's like, okay, I won't let you fall off the edge of the world here, but I'm not going to jump in there and, light my hair on fire again.
Yeah. Men ask us, how do you do that? I understand this intellectually. I even understand this graphic. Nice job, guys. But how do I cut it? And how you do it is realizing that you have another place to go that's more effective for you and for her. It seems counterintuitive because some guys think if I cut the cord and I change this energy, she thinks I'm no longer interested or I'm no longer working on the marriage. Well, what we want you to know is when you cut the cord, you still need to stay available and responsive and engaged, but you need to find a lane to where you are in your own world of validation. You know you're okay. And there's some reactions you can expect when you do this. Sometimes she doesn't like it at first because she's going to be curious, because it's going to be a drastic change from the energy of needing her and following her all the time to being in your own lane. You're still there, but you're not poking her all the time for attention. And so be aware that she may question it. What the hell are you up to? What are you reading? What are you doing? You're acting weird. And the only thing we want you to say at this point is that, I think I need to leave you alone. I think I need to give you some space, and I need to take care of myself for a bit here.
Right. She might even say, why aren't you more upset about this? I'm upset about it. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
Right. And, all you can say is, look, I do care. I really care, but I can't lose my mind over it.
Yeah.
Right.
We always say that a woman gets attracted to a man who does this and threatened at the same time. Realize that you will cause a shift in her emotions towards you. Not necessarily good, but this is a necessary step, number 1, that we're teaching you today to detach from the femometer.
So, number 2. This is a systematic plan to uplevel your sense of value, self-respect, and overall attractiveness. Well, how do you do that? How do you up-level? First of all, you take complete control of your life. You basically get a life. Those things that you stopped doing, the friends that you let go of when you got married, the hobbies and activities that you let go by the wayside, well, you start including those in your life again as a priority. This is what we call the mojometer. Okay, think of it as man gauges on your dashboard. Now, these gauges are labeled mindset, exercise, nutrition, recreation, and sleep. So if you want to get a snapshot of your current state of well-being, or we like to call it your mojo, you would assign numbers to each of these categories, add up all the numbers, and then divide by 5, and you get sort of a mojo number. And it's a good way to kind of see where you're at. Now, you can also use this in another way, sort of like a diagnostic tool. If you're feeling like, I just don't feel good, or I'm not having a lot of mojo right now, what you do is go back to the chart and again, assign numbers to all of these, and you're going to probably see that at least one or more of these are somewhere in the red. So basically, if you're not feeling, your mojo, you want to look at these 5 areas first before you, look for other things. And so you might notice like, oh yeah, you know what? I haven't been sleeping well. Or maybe I've been eating junk food, or I haven't been exercising at all.
Or I've been isolating myself in the basement and not talking to friends anymore.
Yeah, not going out bowling or whatever you like to do. All work and no play, and all, as the old adage says, right? And then mindset. Mindset is the most important one. It's like, the one to rule them all. And if you could have everything else really good, you could be a gym rat, eat perfect, all that stuff, but if your mindset's off, you are not going to feel good. You're not going to have mojo.
One thing guys do with this mojometer is that they still look for the gauge of her face. They think there's a gauge on the mojometer which should say, oh, you're doing a good job. Way to go. Oh, I like the new you, right? And that's not a gauge we want you to look at. That's going back to the femometer. The mistake you can make here is when you're making these changes inside yourself, you don't need to talk about them with her. You need to take those to the men, which is why we're here with you. You don't need to ask, well, how do you like the new me? Oh, didn't I handle that well? Aren't we getting along better? Don't you think this is working out? These are all validation and affirmation seeking behaviors which drive her crazy. So remember, her gauge is not on the mojometer. This is all about you and how you're thinking and how you're feeling and how you're responding to the stimuli that come into your life without using her as a gauge for approval.
Now, one of the great things about these areas is that you don't have to have permission to up-level any of them. All right, you don't have to ask anybody, hey, can I eat better? Can I go take a walk? Can I, whatever. You don't have to. You get to do this on your own, and nobody gets to say, oh, you won't be sleeping anymore, as far as I'm concerned. So you are in control. This is about changing you to please you.
One last thing about how do you do this? How do you use the mojometer? Almost every guy we work with said, there was a time in my life when I felt energized. I felt engaged in life. I felt confident. I knew who I was. I was kind of a rock star. I had that feeling. And then I got married. One thing we want you to do is go back in time to when you had those feelings. Now, we know you didn't have everything you needed there, but there was a time when you knew you were okay. Everything was okay. Even if something bad happened, you knew you would respond to it productively and effectively, and you were okay. And so the how part of this mojometer is know now that you're okay. If you're in the red zone, you have total control over those 5 gauges. All you have to do is take a step back, take a breath, and start making adjustments that you control without asking her for permission. So that was number 2. Let's go to number 3. We want to talk about how to consistently stay in a calm, confident, masculine mindset. Why is this number 3? Because number 1 and 2 is the femometer, right? How to detach. Number 2 is what do you do instead of the femometer? But we know that the third thing that guys struggle with is, okay, I got those 2, but I'm going in and out. I'm having crappy days. I'm having good days. How do I stay consistent so I can even trust myself so she can trust me? You have to understand that this calm, confident, masculine mindset isn't something she can give you. This is a place you'll need to come from. This is the way you talk to a child, like a father who's grounded and loving and calm. This is how you speak to an employee or to a customer or a client you have in a very confident, attentive, just clear-headed way. And so how to stay in here means that you're going to start making better decisions. You're going to start responding to things that used to trigger you in that stomach. She could say, you always do this, or you never do that, or there you go again. And this is another reason I think we should get divorced, right? These are the bazooka bullets coming at you that make you want to react like crazy. So a very calm response to that. We want to talk a little bit later about how to respond to these things like a man, so you can feel calm about yourself. So it feels good to you. So you know you're on the right track.
Yeah, that's a real key thing, is that you'll know that you're making progress when you feel better, not when she approves of you, not when she even notices. She may not notice, or she may even be angry that you're changing. You are changing up the whole game, and she might not like that. Even if the status quo was awful, it's what they call the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And so she might be angry about it, but you do it to please you.
We want to give you a metaphor for how to not be. This is when I was in my marriage and I was finding out that she wasn't paying attention to me, and she was maybe talking to other guys in social media, and I became what I call a hummingbird husband. The hummingbird is nervous and twitchy, and the hummingbird is always asking what, who, where, when, why, how, and the heart rate is like 3,000 beats per minute. The hummingbird is actually the lower gauge on that thermometer. The hummingbird, if you could put wings on that gauge, that's how we feel, because we're channeled into everything she's doing and thinking and saying, and we get nervous, we get needy. We get very defensive and start arguing a lot, and we need reassurance all the time. The hummingbird is always waiting to feel safe, and for us, we're waiting for her to do something to make us feel better. And when she doesn't, we get even more nervous. We take everything personally, and we worry about everything. And so this is a very handy metaphor. Guys talk about it all the time, because the hummingbird is a very relatable energy. So one guy told us recently after the course, he said, my wife and I have been married for almost 12 years, and for the last 2 or so, we've really been struggling with my anger and my depression and anxiety that results from my sexual frustration and lack of intimacy in our marriage. He said, thank you, I'm reading this obviously, right? Thank you for reminding me of who I really am and helping me kill the annoying hummingbird. We love it when guys use these words in their testimonials. He said, my wife has seen an immediate change in my attitude and outlook, and she's even made the statement, that I want to be where you are, and I want to find something that will make me a better person too. This is the first sign of the turnaround, when she starts acknowledging your changes and starts feeling that there's something more she can do as well.
So, if you're not going to be a hummingbird, then, well, what are you going to be? And we like to use the metaphor of a mountain lion, right? So, a mountain lion, what's a mountain lion like? Well, he's calm. He's cool, he's collected, he's laying on a rock out in the sun, just enjoying himself, and his tail's going like this, and he is the king of his domain. Nothing bothers him, you know, the little lion cubs come up and they bite his ears and stuff like that, and he's like, it's okay. And maybe his lioness comes over and is, doing something to him, and he's like, yeah, it's all right, it's all good, right? He's got a low heart rate. Okay, he's got a low pulse, he's breathing nicely. And in terms of in your marriage, it means that you're not afraid of her reactions. You're not afraid of her anger because, like the femometer we talked about, you've detached from what that means. If she gets angry, it means she's angry. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you necessarily did something wrong. Mm-hmm. Okay? There's not a sense of panic when you're the mountain lion. There's not an urgent need to fix things. Now, we know that when you're in this, as someone put it, a state of WTF, you feel like you just want to fix it. That's it. What can I do? How can I fix it? Right now, I got to fix it. We're doers, as guys. But at this point, there really isn't anything to fix. And this certainly isn't about fixing you. It's just becoming the best version of you that you can be. You're not broken. You just need to remember what you used to be like and become that again.
By the way, some guys keep a picture of a mountain lion, like the one you see on the screen, in their pocket to remind themselves to shut up, to be more observant, be more aware. And what we hear, although this isn't the goal, we hear women go, I kind of dig who he's being. And she'll tell her girlfriends that we got into an argument the other day and it lasted like 20 seconds when normally it would have been 4 hours. I like who he's being, and he's helping me feel more calm because he's more calm and he's not so reactive to me. And this is the role of a mountain lion, to help others around him feel his strength so they can relax as well.
Right. A hummingbird makes himself nervous. A mountain lion makes himself calm. So you get to choose. You're in control.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of I was talking about the vortex of her emotions, the ups and downs. Well, it's sort of like she's in a roller coaster, an emotional roller coaster. And she is going to go hot and cold. She'll be okay. She won't be okay. She'll be crying. She'll be screaming. She'll be lying on the floor looking comatose. You name it, she will probably do it, right? And here's the thing. Do not, under any circumstances, get in the seat behind her. You do not want to be riding her emotional roller coaster.
Don't scream when she screams.
Yeah, don't get angry when she gets angry. Don't collapse when she collapses. All right? You want to. This is sort of a tongue-in-cheek rule of thumb, but you kind of want to believe only half of what she does and almost nothing of what she says at this point. Okay? You got to understand, she is in a place of turmoil, and she doesn't know. If you try to ask her, why are you doing this? She doesn't know. She can't really answer. So you can't expect her to console you or make you feel better or reassure you. She can't really do it. And if you try to make her do it, she won't be happy about it. So just remind yourself that she's in this roller coaster, and it's not about you. It's her own journey she's on right now to figure out what it is the hell she wants and where she, wants to go in her life. It's what's going on inside of her, not what you're doing to her.
Now this is where you say, okay, I got it. Another good picture, guys. But how? I know intellectually you're telling me to stop that behavior, but how do I do that, and what do I do instead? This is why this is a coaching webinar. We want to give you another image. Look at the guy in the lazy river. The lazy river metaphor is a place where you can go to invite her which is better than the roller coaster. At an amusement park, picture her at the very peak with her hair on fire screaming, and you're in the sun in an inner tube coming down the lazy river ride. You've got a drink holder, a pina colada, an umbrella in it. You got a smile on your face, you got your shades on, and you're actually waving at her in a very loving, grounded way. Think of a mountain lion in an inner tube, right? And there's an empty tube next to you with her name on it and a drink in it, just waiting for her. And you want to be the guy who can be in the lazy river when she's on her roller coaster and say, when you're ready, I'm here. Instead of going to the defensive guy who says, you're batshit crazy, you're making me crazy, you make me feel bad, and that your roller coaster threatens me, instead you're just going to breathe, slow down, get in the lazy river, and let her know that when she's done, it's okay for her to join you on the lazy river. She may not join you. Remember, this is not about engineering outcomes, but what she needs to consistently see, and we're talking about consistency here, is to see that you're in a lane of well-being, that you don't panic when she panics. And this is how you start to build attraction and trust and respect again, by being consistent in this energy. The only way she'll ever join you on the lazy river is if you're already there. You can't say, hey, let's go, I know this great place.
Or you can't climb up on the roller coaster and grab her out of the car. Right. Because you might be wondering, well, what does it mean to invite her there? What it means is just being calmer. She'll see it and go, as she goes whizzing by, I like that. I want that. She might not see it the first 5 or 6 times, but eventually she'll go, I think that's better down there in that lazy river.
And for you to stay in that tube, like Tim is saying, you have to let go of the idea of controlling her ride, controlling her experience, controlling her moods, and even her words and actions you can't control. But the more you control yourself and stay in that zone of the lazy river, it's an invitation. Remember, it's not all about you. Where she is not about you. And when you stop making it about you, you stop taking everything personally, and you become much more attractive and much more safe to her than you've ever been before.
Right. Some wise person said, you know, she's not really doing it to you, whatever she's doing that you feel persecuted by. She's doing it for herself. She's doing it because she's trying to protect herself, because she has some hurt or wound or thing that she's just trying to get away from. So if you can think of that when she says something that you don't like, and think, you know what, that's not about me. That's just about some hurt she has in her. That can help.
So to recap, you must cut the cord that ties your well-being to her state of mind. That's the femometer. Number 1, cut the cord to the femometer. Number 2, start taking care of yourself and take control of your mindset. This is the mojometer, the nutrition, sleep, recreation, exercise, and mindset. You have to shift from being a hummingbird to a mountain lion, adopting that lazy river mountain lion energy. I love the mountain lion in the inner tube. We'll have to make a graphic like that. And when you get off a roller coaster and start enjoying the lazy river, you'll actually cause her heart rate to lower too and to relax. And when you start changing your thoughts and your behavior, the things around you will begin to change. And that's a promise we can make, and we see it over and over again.
That's right. In fact, we had a client who took the course, Vince from Quebec, and when he took these tools and really worked them, he said this: I want you to know how much you've helped me. I took control of my life, and I started creating my own happiness. I am 10 times the man I used to be. I'm more confident, less stressed, more spontaneous, happier. No more hummingbird syndrome. I'm a stronger man, father, and husband. I know now that I will be happy no matter what happens. I'm more focused, fun, loving, confident, daring, calm. Wow, that sounds pretty good. A better version of myself. Even my wife said that. This mountain lion could not thank you enough. Yeah. So, we want to give you a challenge.
We want to give you a challenge. We want to give you homework. Remember, this is a coaching webinar. This is what we want you to think for the next 24 hours. You're the mountain lion in the inner tube. You're breathing slower. Your heart rate is slowing to about 50 beats per minute. You're going to be more observant. You're going to be on the rock. You're going to be watching. You're going to be less reactive. You're going to think about things before you respond to them. And when she's losing it, slamming doors, huffing around the house, stomping, or overreacting to kids or dogs or whatever, that's your cue to take a deep breath. For the next 24 hours, we want you to run this experiment of being in this place and measure how you're feeling about you. Measure how you feel about yourself as you go to sleep. And also notice her responses to you. She may be curious. In fact, even in a 24-hour period, you may get tested. She may like it enough to poke it and see if it's real. So be ready to be poked and already know how you're going to respond to the poke. Just like that. Just a grin. Just a grin. You're good. You're good right now. 24 hours, that's your challenge.
That's right.
So what we just did was go over a few coaching tips that we would normally do with clients. That was the tip of the iceberg, but we know if you can do the challenge and take to heart what we've shared so far, your next 24 hours can be amazingly different than your last 24 hours. We call it the tip of the iceberg because there is so much more to share. We spend 4 months in private coaching with guys going over the entire gamut of what we want to share with you. This stuff will help you stop the downward spiral of your marriage, and it's going to help you rebuild the trust and the respect and the connection and the attraction that you want in your relationship. So if you'll allow us, we're going to go forward and tell you more about how you can get more of this really fast.
How to Defuse the Divorce Bomb is an in-depth, intensive online video course that we specifically designed to give you back your masculine confidence, clarity, peace, and happiness when your relationship is on the rocks.
Yeah. In our private coaching practices, we've helped countless men become strong, grounded, and focused after being crushed by the divorce bomb. We've both been there. We know what it's like. We're taking the same powerful tools that we do teach over 4 months of coaching with men, and we bring the techniques into this course that work for our own clients, and they'll work for you in this course as well.
Right. It's really like having your own private coaches whenever you want. There's over 8.5 hours of video, and we've broken that up into smaller lessons that lead you along the steps that you need to take. And you can consume those in any order you want and like bite-sized chunks.
So we're going to share with you some of the things we cover in the How to Defuse the Divorce Bomb course. These are real important points that are deeper levels of work, like how to handle those fearful thoughts in your head that cause the feelings of anger and depression and anxiety.
How to deal with her ice-cold attitude even while you're freaking out.
Yeah, I hate the ice-cold attitude. How about quieting that nervous, needy energy so you can stop driving her away? How do you do that?
How to feel more confident and stop reacting to every little thing she does.
How about how to stop trying to be right all the time and start being more effective when you're having conflict or arguments when you speak to her?
How to confront the sex issue and why arguing about it makes things worse.
Yeah. I love this part because there's a cockiness, not arrogance, but a cockiness that men get when they learn how to face conflict in a very masculine way, in a really good way.
We teach you the secret about why she isn't even trying and why that's okay, for now.
How do you stay strong and focused when you're in limbo land, that phase where you don't know what's going to happen, total uncertainty, and every day's an unknown?
We talk a lot about outcome independence. That is the secret sauce and your ultimate superpower, the ability to know that no matter what happens, you're going to be able to deal with it.
We already talked about being cool and calm and clear and unapologetic, but we go deeper into the psychological tools that you need to feel more self-reliant, more calm, which women find so attractive.
We teach you how to embrace your confident inner mountain lion, even in the face of her anger.
We also go into what women want. One of the biggest things men are concerned about is, what does she really want? She won't talk. We're going to teach you what they want at the most basic level and why you must understand her perspective.
We help you create a vision of your life that makes you cry, a good kind of cry.
Yeah. And lastly, we want to help you develop a promise that you're going to make to yourself that no matter what happens through this phase of your life, you're going to learn and you're going to become a better man than you've ever been.
So those are just some of the things we cover in the modules. There are also special bonuses. For example, there's a module called Cheating Cheaters and Lying Liars, all about what to do if she's having an affair.
Yeah. For guys with children, you may want to know about what to do about the parenting problem and what's going on. Father Knows Best is a module that Tim recorded to talk to you about how to be a rock star dad right now.
And Steve has a whole set of videos that are really edgy, straight talk called NSFW, Not Suitable for Wife. And they really tackle some of the most sensitive situations.
Yeah, we have to get real. We have to get real in this course. Every month we host a live video conference with you, and it's a call with everybody in the program where we answer your specific questions. We do live coaching. We teach tools and give you personal feedback on specific areas that you're having trouble with.
Right. And perhaps best of all, you get to be part of a private men-only Facebook group where you get support from this amazing community of men that are taking this course as well and going through the same kind of things you're going through, and you get to hear their experience, you get to hear their struggles and their triumphs. And
yeah, it's a secret group too, so if you're worried about confidentiality, you can bet that this is a very private secret group of men. Now at this point you might be wondering if this course really works. Is this just a bunch of hot air? Christopher from Indiana sent us this, and we think it's an example of what you can expect. He said the concepts that you simply and truthfully state brought great changes to my attitude on life, my family, and my relationships. The light bulb went off. I love that. The light bulb went off as I absorbed all this new, powerful, and somewhat counterintuitive wisdom. We think it's mostly counterintuitive. My wife and I celebrated 12 years married yesterday, and I have 2 daughters, 6 and 8 years old, and another girl on the way this September. From the very core of my being and bottom of my heart, thank you.
Well, we have people who take this course from all over the world, and Graham from Scotland, and I'm not going to do a Scottish accent, said that this last week, it felt like I was walking about in a tailspin of emotion. But since buying your course, I have felt like a weight has been released off my shoulders. It's amazing, really. Gone are the stomach cramps, the anxiety, feelings, hardly sleeping, and the anger and resentment towards my wife is reducing because of your words. I know there is plenty of work to do, and I am up for the challenge. Even confidence at work has returned this past few days. Anyway, thanks. You're a lifesaver so far.
The reason we like reading these, sometimes we'll read them to ourselves, is because we were these guys. We are you. We're a few years ahead of you. And these guys and the testimonials they're sharing are exactly how we felt. So these words like anxiety and anger and resentment and all those words, I get hair on the back of my neck when I hear them because I remember exactly how it felt when I was in those shoes. But there is nothing like that switch, that light bulb that changes, which is part of the promise of this course. It will happen for you. We guarantee it. We know this material will blow you away and change your life and flip switches for you immediately. That's why we have a no BS money-back guarantee. And if for any reason after 14 days or within 14 days of buying the course, if you're not satisfied or blown away with what you've learned and what you've experienced, just let us know and we'll give you your money back right away. No questions asked. We'd love to get some feedback from you, but you really have nothing to lose in this course.
So here's what we'd like you to do. Go to www.howtodifusethedivorcebomb.com and read all the details about the course, then click on the join button and become part of our community. Most importantly, we want you to know that if you decide to do this work, you will be okay. In fact, you'll be better than okay. We can promise you that. After working with countless men, we know that that is the outcome. Not only that, we won't kid you. If you do this work, it will be the hardest work you will probably ever do, but it'll also be the most rewarding and completely worth it.
At this point, people have questions. There's a lot of yeah, buts. What about this? What about that? And so we've tried to anticipate some of the questions that you have or questions that we've already gotten on the course. So at this part of the webinar, stay with us because you already know the offer. You know what we're offering you, but we want to answer some questions because inside the answers to these questions there's some more coaching for you, and we think you're going to get some value. One of the most important questions guys ask us right at the beginning is, hey, what is your success rate anyway for this course? In quotes, what is your success rate? And I mean, how many guys actually save their marriage with your advice? And this is our answer. First of all, there are many factors that determine whether or not a couple can find their way back to a healthy, mutually loving, respectful, intimate relationship. And nobody can promise you any certain success rate in creating that loving, healthy relationship you want. Nobody can guarantee you that. and don't believe anyone who tries. Secondly, if you're asking what's your success rate in saving my marriage, we like to say you're asking the wrong question. And why is that? It's because we know for a fact that you really don't want to save this current version of your marriage. What you want is to stay married and have more confidence, more connection, more intimacy, more passion than you've had in the last few years of your marriage. As men's coaches focused strictly on helping men become stronger and more confident husbands and leaders, we can promise you something else, that there is no possible way your marriage is going to survive unless you decide to become a secure, calm, confident, and clear-headed man who knows who he is and what he wants and where he wants to take his life. This is the leadership that's needed both for you and your relationship. And it's the relentless and desperate focus on saving a marriage that ruins most marriages. That's a counterintuitive thing we like to talk about.
Right. Another thing that we get asked a lot is, well, how can I know if it's already too late and buying this course would be just a waste of time? Yeah. Nobody can tell you whether or not it's a waste of time. Your particular situation is unique to you, and diffusing your particular divorce bomb is going to be your journey. So it could be that your wife is unwilling or incapable to go on this journey with you. But here's the thing. You have more power than you know you have. You have more influence and effect on your marriage if you decide to become a better man and change your behavior. That is the catalyst. That's the start. And once you start, you don't know what might happen. We can't tell you how it's going to end. We can't guarantee that. But what we do know is that no matter what, you will feel better about yourself. You'll be more confident. You will have a better life, and you'll be able to cope with whatever outcome there is down the road. The really bigger point is this, that if your instincts tell you right now that this marriage is worth continuing, or at least, let's say, having a fresh start with, then you should go for it.
Here's another question people ask. How can an online course, right? This is video you're watching, plus a ton of other stuff that we have. How can an online course have any effect on my marriage? If it really takes two people to fix a marriage, then this is what we say. We believe that there is no possibility for marriage to be a healthy, mutually loving, respectful, and intimate marriage without a clear-headed, healthy, strong, secure man at the helm. You have to be a healthy, strong, confident, secure man to be able to lead this change in your marriage. Masculine energy has an important place in relationships, and that's what we want to help you with. Our driving philosophy is that simple because the truth is always simple. You have to want to become a man who is secure and confident in his own skin before you can lead her in any direction, and you have to want to feel grounded and clear-headed and calm in your masculine frame before any relationship you have with a woman can thrive in the way that you imagine that it should. And finally, we want you to know you don't have to do this alone. Isolation is your enemy right now. So whether you join our community or you find your own, you must create long-term connections with men who are learning to thrive in this kind of chaos. It's probably the most important step you can take right now. So whatever you do, make sure that you do something. You join a men's group, you get a coach, you find a very good therapist, but do something. Don't sit still.
I want to thank you again for being with us today. We wish you well on your journey as you tackle this tough time in your life, and we want to send you lots of love and respect.
Thank you very much.